Hi everyone! Welcome to another episode of Nathan's 3D Factory. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to do a very simple hinged box option or mechanism, right? So I'm not going to be adding any, latches or anything. I'm just going to do a box that can open and close with a hinge, right? So let's get started here. So I got my default cube. This is my default scene. This is not the Blender default, but it's what I've done. So anyway, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to start by resizing this cube up. So I'm going to make this 100 on the X, 50 on the Y, and then we'll do 50 on the Z as well, okay? So there's first step here. Get our box, and then I'm going to divide it down the middle. We can always scale this up or down however we want to, okay? All right, so now what I can do is that I can take this seam right here, and then I can rip it here, right? I think it's either V or Y here. I never get those two right. So now we'll see. Okay, so I'm pressing face select, G, Z. Okay. That's what I could never remember. I got like duplicated seams there. I didn't want that. Okay, so here's what I want, all right? I want these faces, so I'll do Alt and this, and then V. Okay, now it's Y. That's what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to do it that way. Okay. So, there we go. And then what I want to do is that I want to size this up a little bit. And I've been using the solidify modifier a lot lately. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate this, okay? And I've been using it for ways that it's not just to, make it solid or anything, but also to provide an offset. So now I'm going to do solidify. And I want to turn off fill. Okay? All right. So now I'm going to do even thickness. Okay. So, oh yes. One thing you'll notice as well is that this is really big. The scale is at 5, 2.5, and 2.5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the scale. Okay. So Control A. I'm going to do scale. All right. Now this looks like a much more reasonable offset here, right? I need to do the same here. Control A. There we go. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is that I said I was going to take off fill and I was going to put even thickness. Okay, so now I'm going to go into here. I'm going to press the slash key so that I can get just this local here, right? So now what I want to do is that I want to take all these faces here, all these vertices in this inner one after I apply. So I need to tab out of edit mode. Okay, now we're going to apply. Now I'm going to hover over this vertex, L, X, vertices, okay? So now we have this offset. I press slash key. That now I have the two box option, two box objects, right? So now what I can do is that I can solidify these guys outward and inward, okay? So I want to make these a thickness now where I am going to fill these now. So this one's going to have the negative offset. We want to keep that. I want to have that at a thickness of 4. Okay? And then I want to do the same thing here. Solidify. I want to put this at a positive offset. I'm going to put this at a thickness of 4 as well. Okay, so now we got those. And then what I can do is that I can start pulling down some of these vertices here. Okay? G, Z, -2. Actually, -4. There we go. Okay? Now, I'm going to go into wireframe here for a moment. And I want to put a bevel on these top edges right here, okay? So I'm going to go to 2, edge select mode. Okay? And now, Control B. Okay? And then I'm going to do a 2 on that for that bevel. And then I want to take that, so the segments go from 1 to 5, right? So now we got that beveled. Looks better, right? So, and then I also want to have this at even thickness again. There we go. Okay, so now I want to get out of that, and I want to do the same thing right here. Okay, so, and actually I can just take this face, not that face, go back into solid for a moment. There we go. Control B, and I want to do this at 2 as well. There we go. So now we have bevels on each of these. Okay. Now what we need to do is we need to add a hinge mechanism. Okay. So to do that, you'll notice that I have an offset on this. So we do want that. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to, actually, I'm going to go into this one. I'm going to do Shift S, and I want to do cursor to selected. I realized I was on face selection. I want to go on to edge selection. Shift S, cursor to selected. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to make a hinge, and I'm going to do a circle. Okay, and I just want to have this at 8 vertices. I want to align this to the view. Now we're going to size this up here. If I do a radius of 5, I get a nice sized hinge there. So maybe I want to do a radius of 3. So then I get a total of a 6mm diameter that I can play with here, right? Fill type, I'm going to change to N-gon. Okay. Now, what I want to do is that I want to separate this for a moment. So I'm going to do P selection. I'm going to tab out of edit mode. I'm going to move this out. G, Y. Okay. And then if we move it out 8, that gets us out to there. I think, though, I want to take it a little bit further. G, Y, 2. So we get it out to 10mm out. Okay. Now this one still has the solidify, which actually is kind of nice, isn't it? Okay. So I can take that thickness and I can just like scale it up, right? So if I do it 20, let's see what it looks like there. And if we put the offset at 0, then it centers it. I think I want to do this a little bit more. 30. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now we have that. We have that in its position where I would like it. All right. And then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to duplicate that. Okay. Then we go back into local. So it's just this object. Okay. Then I want to get rid of the ends. So I'll do 3 for select face select mode. X, F. There we go. Now, I want to have this offset. So let's get out again. I'm going to do another solidify. Okay. And then we'll offset that 2. And I'm not going to fill this. And I'm going to put it on even thickness. Okay. All right. And then what I want to do is that I want to split this. Okay. Actually, I want to go into this. Okay. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have that. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I want to delete this edge right here. X, V. Okay. And then I want to pull these in on each of these sides. Okay. And actually, I want to do these one at a time here. GX, -2. Okay, so that's got to be +2 because I'm on the back view. GX2, negative. There we go. All right. So now what that'll do is that'll allow me to have some tabs to use for these items, right? Okay. So now get out of there. Now let's go back to solid. Okay. So now we have something that's going to hold on to this box here, right? Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to solidify these again. So we're going to apply that. And then we're going to do L on each of these. And then we'll do V. There we go. L, L. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to get this solidified again. I told you I was going to do this a lot. Okay, let's see. Now, I want to get these so that they're 3 on the solidify. Okay. Okay. So now we have that, so we get that solidified. And we could just stop there with the connection point on these guys. Okay. So then we can work on this one again. Okay. So now one thing that I want to do is that I want to do a loop cut here on each of these. Okay. Then I'm going to get rid of this X edge loop. And then I'm going to do an Alt select on this GX2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2. 2 Okay. x, -2. There we go. Okay. Okay. And now what I want to do is that I want to take all these 3. Okay. And then I'm going to turn on the magnet icon so we can snap, do vertex, rotate, scale. Let's get all those. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to do ES not, or rather Shift X. There we go. Okay. So now we have that, so that's all matching up, right? So right there you can see that it's intersecting into the box, so we got some options here, right? So then what we can do is we can move this out a little bit more. Okay. So G, Z. Okay. G, Z. Okay. Okay, and then what we can do is we can apply this. And then we actually need to get a connection point, because actually looking into that, this definitely needs to have this moved down so we don't intersect with this box and lock up everything, right? So what I want to do is I want to connect this one to this box piece right here, okay? So now what we can do, so we can say, all right, well, now I want to have this piece, this edge right here. And I can say Control B. And I want to have that at a bevel of 3. And I want that just at 0 segments. Okay. And then what I can do is I can go to Face Select, get out of the local view again. Okay. And then I can change this to edge on the mode here. E, Y. There we go. And now we have a connection point for that, and I actually want to intersect it a little bit so it doesn't end up in the printing process of like not going where it's supposed to, right? All right, so I'm going to say -1. Okay, so now what happens is that now I have this, so it's intersecting the box. So these should print as 1 unit now. Okay, so that takes care of that one. And then on this one, instead of doing a bevel, what I want to do is just take it up and then have it intersect this box right here, right? Okay. So now I'll go back into the local, do solid. Okay. There we go. And now got those selected. E. Okay, and as I press Control, I can get better control of what I'm doing with this. Okay. All right. And then I can rotate this. I'm going to turn off this magnet for now. Okay, S, not X. And then we're gonna extrude that up in the Z direction. SZ0. Okay, now we're gonna look at that in here. Now you can see that's up in this area. Although this is also doing something weird with this box offset here, right? So what I want to do then is I want to take these, I want to pull them back, G, Y. Okay. So we can pull these back a little bit, G, Y. I want to keep these kind of beefy here-ish. 3mm isn't terribly thick or anything, but it should be enough to do the job here, all right? So now we have those designed. And then what I want to do is I want to get these so these have a subdivision surface on them. Okay, so I'll do Control 2. And then let's go back into wireframe. 2. There we go. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Shift E, 1. And let's do the same thing on this side. Shift E, 1. Okay. Okay, let's see. Then I want to do the same thing here on each of these. Okay. Just a little bit more, and then I think we can call this done, right? Shift E, 1. All these pieces that I don't want curving, I'm just going to put at a crease of 1. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we're just about done with these. Here's what I want to do. I just want to have one of these. Okay, just this. Now we got it better. Okay. Okay, so we're just doing the last of these. Okay, same thing here. Okay, and here's the last one here. See if we got them all. Just about. Shift E, 1. Okay. There we go. I think that's everything. Just gonna kind of go through a little checklist here. Okay. All right. So there we go. So now we have a hinge box mechanism. Oh, all right. On this one, I want to do a little bit more. All right. We'll do that. So this is why we do the little check here. Shift E, 1. There we go. Okay, that looks better. All right. So with that mechanism now, we should have this so that it's going to be locked in place. So we have this one in this spot and this one in this spot. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and save this up. And then just give it a name here. All right. So let's see. Let's see. Okay. A new folder here. All right. Hinge box, we'll call it. Okay. Okay. Hinge box. All right. we got that saved, and I'm also wanting to get these so that they're going to be unified objects. So I'll just do Control J. Oops. Okay. I ought to apply this modifier as well. All right. Apply. Yeah, I had to apply all these. Okay. So I'm confident enough that I will apply all these. I definitely advise against that typically, but in this case, we should be good there. Okay. There we go. All right, now we have that, so it's all saved up and everything. It's a huge looking joint on there, right? But you know what? It kind of gets the idea of like what we need to do with getting a hinge on there. Okay, so it's also a really small box too. So there we go. So let me know what you think in this on this tutorial in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed to this channel already, please do so. Make sure you put a like on this, leave comments, all that stuff. So I know that I'm kind of redundant in this. But again, thank you so much for watching this tutorial on Nathan's 3D Factory. Have a great day, guys.